Hello everyone, just doing a little video for you today. I was just on my way up to the woods to check out the bluebells, and I thought you might like to see them too. So I'm making my way up into the woods. And I also wanted to show you my process for dyeing wool with landscape dyes, which is something I've only just recently started doing, but I've been really enjoying. And I've been dyeing some wool roving, but also some yarn as well. And what I've really enjoyed doing is the felted wool sheets and wool blanket as well. So they come out really nicely. And today I thought I'd add to the dye pot some silk as well and see how that takes. I've never done silk before, so that will be a real experiment. A bit out of breath, it's a steep climb. Let me turn you around so you can see the bluebells. So there's lots of ferns at the moment, but you might just be able to see all of that beautiful blue. What I find is that the camera doesn't actually pick the blue up that well, but yeah, you can see them here. And the smell is just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So that's the woods on this beautiful day. I'm going to make my way back down now and light the fire and get the landscape dyes out. Exciting. See you in a minute. So I'm just going to do this little voiceover here to explain what I was doing. So this wool that I'm pulling out of this bucket now has been soaking in warm water just for 10 or 15 minutes, and I'm just gently adding it to the pan of hot water on top of the fire there. This is the fire pit that I was using to boil the pans on, but as you'll see and as the video progresses, it's not a complete success. But it kind of does the job for the moment. Emmy decided to help me, so she's kind of in and out the video a little bit. She quite likes mixing up the dyes and pouring them in, so she does a little bit of that over the course of this video. So I'm just checking out the dyes now and deciding which colours to choose for this batch. And I've gone for a green, which is called Alfalfa. And at first what I'm doing is just pouring them out into the lid. They come in a powdered form, and I was just pouring a small amount into the lid so that Emmy could sprinkle it directly onto the wool. And the effect that this gives is kind of a patch of quite concentrated colour. So yeah, for this particular batch I was doing it in that way. You'll see a couple of other techniques that I use further along in the video, but that's how we started out with this batch. There we go. Emmy really likes mixing all the different colours. We're putting in some yellows as well, and I introduce a little bit of brown into this batch as well. So we've got yellows, greens and browns going into here. This is some overhead shots now to show what it looks like once the powder has been sprinkled in. Excuse my finger over the camera there. Yeah, so we've let it sit for a couple of minutes at this point, and now I'm just really gently stirring it in. You can see that there's still some white wool showing, so we're just adding some more colour in. And I just tend to build it up in this way, just gradually building up the colour, adding some more, stirring it, adding some more, stirring it, until all of the white parts of the wool have been covered. This is another way that I add dye to the dye pot. Instead of sprinkling the powdered dye directly onto the wool, which gives quite a strong kind of concentration of colour. If I want a more even coverage, then I take a glass jar and fill it with warm water, which I just took from that pot on the floor there. And then I sprinkle the powdered dyes into the warm water in the glass jar. And I just mix it around a little bit until I get the shade that I'm happy with. So here I'm just mixing up some green. And then I think I'm going to show you so you can see the colour. Yep. So that's just the green by itself, and it's a really quite a forest green colour, which I'm not actually terribly keen on. So I think I'm going to show you the pot now so that you can see. Yeah, it's called alfalfa. It's really quite a bright forest green, and I actually tone it down with some yellows and some browns afterwards. And then I just add that dissolved dye to the dye pot and swirl it around a bit as I'm pouring it, and then I mix it as well with some tongs, and that just gives a more even coverage, I find. So it's not just like a concentration of a strong colour, it's a much more even colouring. So at this point I needed to give the fire some attention, so I have got my felted pot holders there, and I'm going to take the pot off of the fire and I put it onto the wall, which I later find out is a mistake because there's a coat of paint on that wall, and of course I just put a hot pan on it, and I found out afterwards that the paint melted onto the bottom of my pot and it's proving very difficult to wash off. So that was a lesson learned there. But nevertheless, I didn't realise at the time. So I'm just adding some more wood to the fire, and you can see the flames building up a little bit there. Yeah, the fire just needed a little bit of waking up, because I noticed that the boil had slowed right down on the pot there. So adding some more wood, and then I put the grill back on, and of course the grill's really hot, so I'm using these tongs to pick it up with. Not wholly successfully. There we go, finally. Got it back on, and then I have to kind of get the grill to settle into a place where it's safe for me to put this pan of boiling water back on it without it spilling. That's a copper blowpipe so that I can blow air into the bottom of the fire, and it's just bent at the end of it, it's all squashed down, so it fits through the grill really nicely, and I can blow into the embers and get it to get the flames going. And here we are, we've got the pan back on the boil again. There's no dye left in there, so it's taking up the dye really, really well. I'm going to put the rest of this green in. Ah. God, the smoke!
Most of it's steam.
It's smoke, it's in my eyes. So I've had the dye pots going for about half an hour now, and the colours are starting to develop really, really well. You can just see, I don't think you can really see it from there, but I'll show you at the end how all the colours come out. So that's wool roving in there. And that's a mixture of kind of greens and browns and yellows. And then in this smaller pot that I've just put on, I'm going to do just yellows and browns. I'm not loving the tone of green that's coming out, so I might try and mix the green with some yellow maybe, and just, I'm finding it to be a very kind of vibrant forest green, and that's not my favourite shade, I'll be honest. So I think I'll do that. I think I'll try and mix it with some yellow maybe and try and tone it down a little bit, try and get a softer kind of green colour. And then once I finish the roving, I'm going to move on and do some wool blanket and some wool felt sheets. Unfortunately, I couldn't find my silk in the end, so it'll have to wait for another day. There we are. There's some quite nice kind of woodlandy colours, which I'm really happy with. I'm really pleased with some of those colours in there. Oh, sorry, a little bit skew if camera footage there. And I've just put on the second pot there, it's just coming up to temperature. I'm going to add some more colours into there in a minute. So I've got my second pot on there behind me, which is just more of a green colour as it turns out. But I thought you might like to watch this one coming out of the dye pot. And this is the kind of more multicoloured one that I just did. So it's been boiling for about 30 minutes or so. Sorry, it's really smoky and very steamy. The wood that I'm burning is quite wet, so I'm finding it's really, really smoky. Getting a bit smoked out. But I'll just show you this and then I'll bring you in a bit closer so you can have a closer look as well. But it's good to see that there's hardly any dye left in the water, which is great. So I feel like I've used up the dye stuff really well, thanks to the vinegar. So I'm going to just bring you round overhead now so you can see the colours. So here are the results of the first dye bath I did. So there's like a mixture of yellows and browns and greens, a little bit of orange in there. They look pretty good. I mean, obviously it's going to change once I dry it and I need to rinse it and everything as well. But first off, yeah, pretty pleased. Oh, sorry. But first off, yeah, pretty pleased. Sorry about my shaky camera work. Right. Just getting the wool felt and the wool blanket ready to go in the dye pot. So you need to soak it first in warm water. And just to save on water and heating water, I have just plonked this into the exhaust dye bath, because actually, I mean the exhaust dye bath of this batch, which is drying in the bottom of the bucket. And because actually it's taken up the dye so well, there's virtually no dye left in here. And because I'm going to be dyeing with really similar colours anyway, it'll be totally fine. So that's just soaking in there, and as soon as this pot here is done, which is just the green tones, then, oh, I'm standing in the light, there we go, then I will put the wool blanket and the wool felt on, and then that'll be me done for the day. This is the green dye that I'm doing. That's come out really, really nice. I'm just going to give it another minute or two, and then I'm going to take it off and put the wool felt in. So I've just taken out the green from the campfire, and it's just been sitting here for about half an hour, so now I'm just going to take it out and put it into this colander. It's come out quite a good colour, I'm really pleased with this one. And again, it's taken up the dye really well from the water, so I'm really glad about that. I'll turn you around so you can have a proper look at it. Or maybe I can hold it. There we go. Look at that. I'm so pleased with that colour. That was exactly the colour I was after, so that's a bit of luck. Just got this next dye bath on now, but I'm having a real problem getting the fire going. I think my wood's a little bit wet maybe, and I also think doing it in this fire pit like I'm doing it, the ash is all collecting in the bottom and the fire just isn't really going. So I'm gonna, it's very smoky. I'm gonna try my best to get the fire going, but if I can't bring this up to a boil, I might have to abandon the wool felt and the wool blanket, unfortunately. But let's see how we go. I'm going to give it another 20 minutes or so and see how I get on. There is a bit of flame going on in there, so let's see how we go. I think in future I'm going to not do it in the fire pit actually, and make a campfire down by the polytunnel. I think that's how I'll do it in future, and because then I can, and I've got a trivet that it can stand on, because I think part of the problem that I'm finding is that I've got the fire going really nicely, and then you have to put the grill over the top to get the saucepan in, saucepan onto it. And what's happening then is then I can't add more wood to the fire as I need to. I have to take the whole pot off and the grill off to get fire on. So I just can't manage the fire properly and keep the pots at a good temperature. So yeah, bit of a learning curve, but good to recognise, and hopefully I can rectify that for future dye pots. I'm not holding out much hope. There's not much going on. The water is steaming, but it's just not boiling. Let's have another go. I'm pleased to say that we finally got it going. So I did it by decanting it into a smaller pot. That helped a lot. So now, and that's just increased the airflow to the fire. So we're good. So I'm just keeping a lid on it for the moment to try and bring it to a boil, but I'm going to mix up some dye to put in. So in the end I changed the grill for the trivet and it is working so much better. So yeah, in future that's what I'll do. So this is the wool felt and a little piece of wool blanket. So I've gone for kind of browns and oranges and yellows in here. And I'm really glad that I did, because it's just coming out so pretty. And I'm really enjoying these colours. just debating whether to add a little bit more in or whether to leave it at that. It's really difficult because you don't want to overdo it. But I also, I mean, I can always rinse them and dye them again, because you can over dye, can't you? Such a tricky one to decide. I might leave them. And over here is the wool roving, the beautiful greens, and a little bit of orange and brown showing through there. So I'm just going to rinse them now in this clear water, and then I can hang those up to dry. So it's quite a number of hours later now. I've had dinner and everything. But the wool felt finished boiling, and I'm ready to take it out of the dye pot now and show you. So I'll give it a bit of a squeeze. So this is how it looks. It's obviously it's still wet and I need to rinse it. I've got a bucket of water here to put it into to rinse it. But I'm really pleased with the colours. They've come out so nicely. This is a piece of wool blanket. So that one, it was interesting actually to see the difference, because it didn't take up the dye quite as nicely as the felt did. The felt definitely looks kind of brighter and has taken up more of the kind of splotches. I don't know what the technical term for that is. I just call them splotches. That one's really nice. It's come out really nicely. So I'm just going to rinse these now basically. I'm just rinsing them in kind of hand warm water. Just basically the same kind of heat that the wool felt already was. And then I'm going to go and hang it up to dry. It's quite late in the evening now and the forecast for tomorrow is rain. So I'm going to go and hang these up in the shed so that they're under cover for the night. But I think tomorrow I'll probably bring them in and I'll probably end up lighting the Rayburn tomorrow, I think. And so I'll put them on top of the Rayburn to finish them drying. And then once they're fully dry, I will take a little bit of video to show you the finished colours, because I think that's a really exciting bit, isn't it? Seeing them all rinsed and dried and all ready. So yeah, thanks for watching along with me today. I hope you've enjoyed seeing my process of dyeing with landscape wools, landscape dyes with wool. It was a little bit of a learning experience for me because I haven't done it very many times. So I'm still trying to find my feet with a process, but yeah, I seem to be getting there and I'm really happy with the results. And you know, it's just good fun, isn't it? It's just good fun playing with wool in the sunshine. Why not? And all different colours. Brilliant fun. Anyway, I hope you've had a lovely day and I will see you again very soon with something else. Bye!